¿Qué tal, amigos? Welcome. This is LatiNation Football Club. I'm your host, Marcelino Ortiz, and today I'm very excited. We have an amazing show, Champions League, Champions Cup, a quick preview for the Nations League quarterfinals, and a preview for the National Women's Soccer League that we are going to start the coverage of this amazing and exciting league this week. And it's time to start, and we start in Europe, in the premier competition for clubs in the world. The Champions League gave us some amazing games in the round of 16, and that's why I'm here once again with my good friends and trusted collaborators, Nik Z and El Chiva Mayor, Julio Ramos. Guys, let's talk about the 4 games that we're going to see in the upcoming weeks, guys. Let's start about Arsenal versus Real Madrid. Arsenal moved on very convincingly after a 7-2 first leg, and then more balanced 2-2 draw on the second one. Real Madrid moved on clearly with the luck of the champion, with everything playing on their end, and a heartbreak exit for Atletico de Madrid. But guys, talk to me. Do you guys feel that Real Madrid will be able to pull through a very complicated game against Arsenal?
Man, I mean, it's Real Madrid, right? They are the top of the top when it comes to Champions League. They turn into a different team. They struggle a lot against Atletico de Madrid. We all knew this. You know, Cholo Simeone's teams, they always give their best, especially versus Real Madrid. If it wasn't for Courtois, I think we would be talking about another surprise in the Champions League. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to be able to manage Arsenal. It's not going to be easy. But the fact that it's Real Madrid, I think they're going to advance for sure.
Nick, tell me.
As long as don't let Vinny take any more penalties.
Right?
That was a sad moment for Vini. I thought that he was behaving a little bit unbecoming of a player at that stage, being so disrespectful. He laid the uniform of Real Madrid. He continually taunted the Colchonero supporters. Nick, do you think this is a way to move on in the competition? This braggadocio that has been a constant critique around Vinicius?
Sometimes it's helped him too. It wasn't long ago that we were talking about that big banner that was up. Where was that? Who were they playing against when the fans put up that giant banner taunting Vinny, and he came through and he just made quick work of the other side? What squad was that? We were just talking about this a few weeks ago.
That was the previous round where the Manchester City fans were, letting Vinicius know that he should stop crying for not getting the Ballon d'Or that went to Rodri, and he quickly silenced them.
See, Vinny's one of those. Okay, look, some players can talk trash, others can't. Some can stand up for themselves in some situations. Some have less, let's say, kudos to do so. But Vinny's one of those players that, okay, I was poking fun. He missed a penalty. What amazing player hasn't missed a penalty, right? If anyone can talk crap, if anyone can talk smack, it's Vinny. So look, he's an amazing player all around. He's going to be his own man at the end of the day. All the great players have had their own personas, let's say. And if we go back in history, the Maradonas and everybody in the past, the amazing players, what Vinny's doing is nothing compared to other amazing players and their big attitudes.
I think that it's important that the game continues to have this flavor to it. The disrespect is part of the game. And if you lose, you have to take it, right? Like, if you are willing to play at that level, you are also willing to take the hit. But we have to move on to the next game. Bayern Munich versus Inter de Milan. Bayern Munich is a machine. They prove that no matter who's in front of them, even if it's a great team that has, beat them in their home turf for the last 3 times, they figure out a way to make it happen. We have a forward in that team that is doing things that very few have done, Harry Kane. Nick, what are your predictions? Do you think the Nerazzurri are going to have what it takes to stop the German machine?
Sì, penso che sì, ragazzi. Inter Milano, ultimi italiani in the torneo. They're holding it down for the Italians. There's no other Italians in the championships in the final. Where are we at? The final 8 now. Things are moving fast. Sorry. AC Milan, the Giants, who have traditionally done so great in this tournament. It's all on the Nero Azzurri, and I feel like they're gonna just they're going to do great. Look, Kane, obviously unstoppable, but Inter's got this great momentum behind them, and they play with a certain passion that I think is amazing. They got Thuram, scoring amazing goals. If they can keep that up, I could see this being a great matchup, but Inter Milano taking over.
Chiva, we saw Lautaro. He did an amazing job. But do you think Bayern will have the discipline and the resilience to stop this very, very offensive version of the Inter?
Lautaro is an amazing player, but if there's something that Bayern has is a discipline to stop anybody, right? Like defensively, they do pretty good. And then Kane wants to win something. They're hungry. They know this is the opportunity. Liverpool is gone. Everybody thought they were going to be in the final. And Real Madrid is struggling, which to me are like the two main teams to win the Champions League. Now one is gone, and they see the opportunity in front of them. So I think Bayern Munich is gonna do whatever it takes to advance and make it to the final.
Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund. Barcelona wants to come back to the glory days of European soccer. They want to have control in the pitch, but they're going to face a Dortmund that enjoys chaos, that they move at speed that is hard to keep up with. Nik, do you think the yellow wall will be enough to stop the likes of Lewandowski, Lamine Yamal, and the unstoppable, the top scorer of the championship, Rafinha?
No, and no. I mean, Yamal is clearly showing that he is amongst the best players in the world, by far the best young man in the world playing this game at just 17 years old. We saw the kind of goals that he's been scoring these days. They're absolute bangers. I don't think they're going to be able to stop them. This is a team that struggled against Lille. I mean, I don't see them being able to stop that sort of synergy between Pedri, Rafinha, and Yamal. I don't see it.
Chiva, these teams have faced each other 6 times. Barcelona won 2, 4 ended up in draw. Not a clear dominance. Do you foresee an upset? Because I think everybody's with Barcelona. They're the clear favorite, but Dortmund is not a team that you should be sleeping on. Tell me, do you think there's an upset in the horizon?
Not in this round, not for Barcelona. I think Barcelona are playing so good. Rafinha is just, amazing. And you guys already mentioned all the rest of the players. Not versus Borussia Dortmund. I think, unfortunately for them, they're going to be eliminated.
Barcelona possession game is going to be a tough nut to crack for the Germans. But let's talk about what I think is going to be the most transcendental game in this round, and it is PSG versus Aston Villa. Another surprising team that has been a very, very long time since they were protagonists in European football. Is this finally the year that the Frenchmen get the trophy? Chiva, you first.
I think it's closer than ever. Even without having Messi, without having, all these superstars they used to have. But now they have Dembele on fire, baby. The opportunity is there. Obviously it's Champions League. It's going to be a close game, but definitely PSG are in the horizon of making it to another final.
After eliminating Liverpool, Nik, I think that PSG has become the clear favorite to win this tournament. Do you agree with that?
You have been saying all along, Marcel, talking about a dark horse. And I think if there's a dark horse that you're looking to put your support behind, Aston Villa might be a good choice. I mean, 2 years ago, we're talking about a team, Villa, that were on the verge of relegation in the EPL. And look at them now, making it into the final 8 and making quick work of teams like Bruges. They might just be a really formidable foe against PSG. That's going to be an amazing head-to-head. I think it's going to be really close, but I think I'm with you. PSG might inch forward. I just don't know if they're the clear winners here because it's going to be close.
There's no history to rely on this game. This is the very first time that PSG is going to face Aston Villa in the Champions League. Thank you, Chiva and Nik, for that precise and thorough analysis of the round of 16 and the upcoming quarterfinals of the UEFA's Champions League. For me, the premier club competition in the world. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to talk about the Champions Cup, CONCACAF's premier tournament, and also the preview for the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League, that this week, we start our coverage. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here in LatiNation Futbol Club.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Gators' resume is excellent. We know how hard it is to win on the road in college. They've won at Auburn and at Bama.
Michigan State is 17-5 in quad one, quad twos. Are they a one seed? I think not. They may make claim if they make a run and there's craziness in the SEC.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They're also showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Brant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Cleffa Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth number one seed.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
¿Qué tal, amigos? Welcome back. This is LatiNation Football Club, and I'm your host, Marcelino Ortiz, and I'm so excited because it's the turn for CONCACAF Champions Cup, and I'm here with Nik Z and El Chiva Mayor, Julio Ramos, experts on the matter, and very passionate about this tournament, and it's about time that we start with some good news, some happiness for our own Nik Z, our resident Galaxy man. They finally made it through after 3 disastrous weeks in MLS, losing the first time a champion loses 3 games, not to rub it in your face as an LAFC fan. But let's talk about Champions Cup. They win, they move on, and they have Tigres in front of them. What a match, Nick. Talk to me.
Oh boy, where do I start? Well, first of all, I think this perfectly sums it up. Our movement was absolutely amazing. We were making great opportunities and we were scoring some goals that let's say I'm just happy they went in. They weren't the prettiest goals. They weren't the most purposeful shots, but they went in, and that's what we need moving forward. These early games are important for us because we are, as we keep talking about, rebuilding. We're trying to rebuild a whole new thing from the ashes here. Our great players are injured, and so this is a good time for players like Miguel, like Peck as well, who we already know is great, but Miller and Aude. It's their time to kind of prove themselves, and yeah, it's going to be a really uphill battle now up against Tigres. That's going to be a whole other thing, right? Because they just booted Cincinnati out, and this is a great team that is obviously amongst the top in Liga MX, and so for us to kind of power through that, it's going to be really tough. But again, it's what we need. We need that kind of test. We need that kind of pressure right now.
I think, Chiva, these are the type of games that define the Champions Cup. We have the champion of MLS facing one of the most powerful teams in Liga MX. What is your take on this game?
Look, it's not going to be easy for Tigres, right? Tigres, even though they have an amazing team and Galaxy is barely getting in there, let's not forget that they have Guido Pizarro as a coach. You know, like they just changed the coach, and I don't know how I feel about that, but it's definitely going to be a good game. I'm glad that Galaxy woke up finally. And it's going to be very interesting. I think on this one, I don't want to say it, but I think Galaxy is gonna make the difference. Is gonna advance.
El Chiva Mayor is going for Galaxy. The ocean is gonna freeze.
I'm not going for Galaxy. I'm saying they're gonna advance. Okay.
Oh my God! Only here in LatiNation Football Club you get this type of honesty as analysts, because before fans, we have to see the truth in these games. And the truth will be told next Tuesday at BMO because we have one of the marquee games that MLS has been dreaming for. LAFC facing Miami in this kingmaker of a game. Guys, you know where I stand. I think LAFC should win this game, but the reality is that after what I saw, barely scraping through Columbus, losing right after a disastrous 5-2 loss to Seattle, where the coach, in my opinion, just gave up the game on the third match day. Come on, we'll talk about that later because we're gonna focus on Champions Cup. Messi has to come, has to play, because otherwise, I think LAFC is gonna win. Chiva, I'm gonna start with you as one of the most passionate LAFC fans, but also an honest analyst. Do you think LAFC is gonna advance?
Look, the game is gonna be April 1st, and I think that LAFC is gonna win that match. It's not gonna be easy when we go to Miami, but I do see an advantage on the coaches. Cherundolo, the best coach in the MLS in the past seasons, versus Mascherano, that is new in the league. And even though it's a Conca Champions game, I think there's gonna be a huge difference when it comes to the coaches. So I think that's what's gonna make the difference and who's gonna advance. And I think that LAFC is gonna struggle, but they're gonna advance.
I think, Chiva, that there's a stark difference in how these teams came to the quarterfinals. We have LAFC that had to go through Columbus, probably one of the most difficult teams to beat in MLS, and Miami that had somewhat easy, although they had to fight really hard to make it, competition against the top team in Jamaica. Nik, do you think this is gonna take a toll on Miami? Just the difference in competition to come to this point in the tournament.
Yes, what makes this tournament unique, obviously, is that the travel is just brutal. Teams might be playing in a high altitude in Mexico City one day, and then you're flying thousands of miles to the Caribbean to play a squad there, and then you're getting frostbite on your toes in Canada in the next leg, right? So that's brutal. And so it's going to be tough, but like playing in LA, that's mild weather. We're not dealing with anything too crazy. Mother Nature is at least hopefully going to be kind to the city for a little bit longer, and that's not going to be their biggest concern. It's going to be facing a really tough LA squad that's really ready to go.
Now, Nik, let me see if there's balance in this world. Are you saying that LAFC is going to win this game?
Now I feel like I have to put out that olive branch and extend my unofficial support and best wishes for LAFC in the upcoming match. I do. I really think that they're really strong enough to take on LAFC. I do.
Look at us building bridges here in LatiNation Football Club. But there's one more game that I am personally very excited to talk about. Vancouver Whitecaps, one of the most surprising teams in MLS right now, probably the fastest growing team in MLS in style of play, against my Pumitas. Los Pumas that show that they were better in the second game. You clearly see what Efrain is doing in the team, the new coach that has just 3 games under his belt, and it's already shaping the idea of play. Chiva, do you feel like Pumas is in this process, this resurgence that will allow them to, like last year, make it to the final?
100%. Efrain Juarez brings that DNA Puma that they needed, and you can see the difference on every single player. They give their best. They're playing for the badge, etc., etc. I think that they're in good hands. Efrain Juarez coming from Colombia, winning 2 championships in 6 months or 4 months, something like that. This is just crazy, and you guys should be happy for having somebody like him, such a young coach, but with a lot of talent. And I do see Pumas advancing, to be honest with you. Vancouver, yes, doing pretty good, but they're going to play Pumas, and Pumas is their DNA right now. It's top, and they're going to come out winners.
That is right, guys. Thank you so much. We are going to have so many good games next week. I'm so excited. Thank you for being here. And don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we are going to have the reveal of the latest signing of LatiNation Football Club. The new member of this team will be covering National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL. And today we have the preview of the upcoming season. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
showing a little bit more propensity to take the pull-up jumper, which I think is important for them. Aiden Holloway's been better. Grant Nelson's staying out of foul trouble. Cleffa Murray is attacking the offensive boards and being the defensive threat that they need. If Alabama can defend, and they make a run, and they win the SEC tournament, I think they're the fourth #1 seed.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're gonna go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's gonna help me get the job done. There is not gonna be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
That is also value to be the best player on the best team. To me, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There is no doubt about it.
The Nuggets probably going to finish, second overall in the conference here, and it's not going to get him the MVP. We'll see how it is down the stretch, and I assume this is going to tighten up, but barring a huge drop-off for OKC as a team, not just SGA, you could probably pencil him in for 30 a night.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
¿Qué tal amigos? Bienvenidos de regreso. This is LatiNation Football Club and today is a very special day. I'm so excited because we kick off our coverage of the NWSL, the National Women's Soccer League. That's right, it's been a long time coming. We've been wanting to cover this tournament for a long time, but we wanted to do it the right way. And what we needed to do is go out there and find the right teammate, find the right new member for the LatiNation Football Club. And I'm very, very excited and happy to present and introduce to you Camila Ortiz. Camila is a great addition to our team. She's a former varsity player. She had a long career playing club soccer and now is assistant coach at the Los Angeles Bulls, one of the premier youth clubs in Los Angeles. Camila, we are very happy to have you and your expertise here in LatiNation Football Club.
What's up, guys? I'm super excited to be here. I can't tell you how much it means to have an opportunity to be part of this team, and I'm super excited, most importantly, to talk about the women's game and just get more people pumped and excited about it. We've seen an insane amount of growth in 2024, and I just want to keep that momentum going.
And we are very, very happy that you chose us to share what you know about this exciting growing league. Camila, let's start at the beginning. Tell me, for the fans out there that are new to the women's game, new to this league, can you please tell us a little bit of the backstory of the league, how it has come to be what it is today?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, the NWSL was established in 2012. We currently have 14 active teams, and I'm super pumped to announce that we have 2 teams on the way. They're going to be coming out actively playing in 2026. We have a team in Denver, Colorado, and we have a team in Boston. So I'm super duper hyped about that coming up.
Before we continue, Camila, I need to know which is your team. What colors do you represent? Because I know that you are wearing that amazing vintage Mexico jacket, and we'll talk about the Nations Cup later on a little bit, but who's your team? Who's your team? Who do you represent?
Being an LA native, I have to go with ACFC. There's no other option for me.
I mean, I know that it's not been just roses and dailies for them. It's been a couple of years of a lot of development and growth, and the team has not become the protagonist, if you will, that others expected them to be, just like LAFC, which is a comparison that people do that shouldn't happen. But tell me, who are the main teams? Who are those who are really setting the standard in the NWSL?
I mean, coming off from a crazy season with a great championship. We have, of course, Orlando Pride. That's a top team, hands down, historically. We have Washington Spirit, which unfortunately lost to them in the championship game. You have Portland Thorns, ACFC, which I think with the new coach this year is going to be upcoming and developing, but those are the top three I would keep an eye out for.
So, Camila, tell me, who are the players that people might not know and they have to keep an eye on?
You got to keep an eye on Chawinga. She had 21 goals. She's coming off from an insane season. I mean, that's got to be, for me, my #1 player this upcoming season. I can't wait to see what she does. You have Banda with 17 goals. You have the queen, the icon, Sophia Smith. She was coming off with 12 goals. And like you said, Marta, the icon, with 11. I mean, every season she's just going to be the same. She can be consistently great. So,
in terms of development, what are the highlights that happened this offseason that promise this to be one of the best seasons ever for the league?
2024 was an insane season for engagement. We saw a 47% increase in just match attack. Let me redo it. 2024 was truly an incredible season for the NWSL. We saw a 47% increase in match attendance, and we saw a 258% increase in just viewership overall, like broadcasting. And so I just think the energy that is coming into this league is going to be unparalleled, and it's something you just have to be a part of.
So, Camila, the games start this weekend. Which are the must-watch games that we have to be tuning into this weekend?
The two must-watch games, the season kickoff, we're going to start Friday, March 14th. We have Orlando Pride versus Chicago Red Star, Houston Dash versus Washington Spirit. They're going to be two great games. Orlando Pride and Washington Spirit were the two finalists in the NWSL Championship, so they're going to have something to prove, and yeah, it's going to be a great game.
Well, we'll be watching, and next week we are waiting anxiously for your first report on match day #1. Now, before we leave, do you have some last words that you want to share with all of our audience now that you're an official member of LatiNation Futbol Club?
I just want to again express how happy I am, how excited I am to bring the women's game out there for everyone to see. I hope that my passion can go on a little bit to you guys. And yeah, I'm super excited to get everybody more involved in this league.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. That was Camila Ortiz that will be joining us every week to report on the National Women's Soccer League. And with that, we say goodbye to this episode of LatiNation Futbol Club, but we'll be right back here next week with everything that you need to know about the international window. Yes, Mexico contra Canada, Estados Unidos contra Panama, and so many more international games. We'll have them here in LatiNation Futbol Club. Hasta la próxima.
It's made every match so much more enjoyable to watch because you don't get the stinkers, right?
Right. It goes back to these guys being smart. They figured out that if I've got the hammer in my back pocket and I don't relinquish it, we can just play them straight up and win. They figured that out. And so it's like, all right, now credit to the people at TGL. Like, no, we need to fix this because the hammer can change the match. And since we fixed it, you're not out of it.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than game time decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Off of the combine this weekend, there's been lots of anonymous sources and position coaches and all these things that sat down in interviews with him. A lot of teams allegedly don't see him as a first-round pick.
Their big mouth that thinks they can do it either. They're embarrassing themselves. They all think they're so smart, everybody in this business. You're all a bunch of drifts. Honestly, you don't know who's going anywhere.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.